What's up guys, this is Pink Across. Today I'm going to be rating and fixing some of my viewers' teams. First, let's go over some rules. Number 1, I'm going to be rating every team strictly based on competitive viability. If you're building teams for fun, that's absolutely a great thing to do, but this is going to be about analyzing teams at a top level. Number 2, each team will be rated on a scale of 0 to 10 before I fix it. 0 to 2, this is like your really bad team, almost a certain loss at a top level, maybe like a complete joke team, really doesn't have a lot going for it. 2 to 4 is the range where it's so full of flaws that any well put together team would destroy it with ease. 5 to 6, it's the range where it's getting better, still has a lot of noticeable flaws, but also has a lot going for it, and still could win in a serious setting. 7 to 8, this is when the team is really strong, I like a lot about it, but it does have a few noticeable flaws. And the 9 to 10 range is when a team is really good with very few flaws and is just overall extremely strong. Number 3, I am not going to change the key Pokemon or goal of a team when fixing it. I'm not here to replace 4 of your Pokemon on the team with like a Kingambit, Great Tusk, Slowking, Galar, whatever, and make it completely unrecognizable. Even if the Pokemon that you built the team around I consider to be unviable, we're going to work with it and try to make the best team we can with the original intention of the team intact. Let's do this. First up, we have a Plusle Rain by MAAELXD. Yes, you heard me, Plusle. Before I give my rating, let's just look over this. So we've got Assault Vest Swampert here, a Dragon Dance Salamence, a Life Orb Roost Pelipper, a Plusle that cannot touch ground types, a Forretress that cannot touch anything, and an Assault Vest Metagross. So overall, I would have to give this team a 1 out of 10. I cannot imagine this winning. I think at a top level, you would lose with this team almost 100% of the time. It's not a 0 because there are still some okay things. Like this could potentially win. I mean, it's still a Dragon Dance Salamence with Outrage and Moxie, right? And you know, this Pelipper could do something, but yeah, this team is pretty awful. So let's get started fixing it with the obvious thing. I mean, this is pretty much a full rain team, so we don't want to be running Life Orb on Pelipper. We definitely want to be running a defensive kind of Roost variant here. So let's go, yeah, minus speed here. Probably go 0 speed as well. Just so we can get those slow U-turns. Look on Swampert here. Swampert is actually not a bad choice on Rain. I'm kind of a fan of this. It can really deal well with Raging Bolt, which can be a threat to Rain, and also deals with Archaludon pretty well, but we're going to need a Stealth Rock setter, so I'm going to replace this Liquidation here for Stealth Rock, and go for a more specially defensive variant, since the Swampert will be more in a support role anyway, and will value the bulk more. Now, the only Salamence I can really see myself running on a Rain team is going to be a Choice Spec set. So we can go Hurricane, Draco Meteor, we can go Hydro Pump, and for the last, Salamence doesn't really have any other great special moves. You could run Dragon Pulse, you could run like Tailwind or something. I'm thinking I want to go just Dragon Tail, just, you know, a little phasing move. It's not going to be used very often, but you'll probably just be running clicking Hurricane, Draco, and Hydro Pump almost all the time. And we'll go Tera Fly and get that nice little power boost. So now that we've fixed these three, let's get into the more problematic ones. This Plusle, let's just fix this set. We don't need this HP. It's not going to be doing anything. Plusle living any hit is not happening. Let's go with Tera Blast Ice. We need that coverage. We can remove Super Fang, and instead of Volt Switch, I mean, I think preserving Plusle is not really going to be happening either. We can go with Grass Knot just so we can have some way of hitting ground types without being forced to Tera every time. So that helps a little bit. As much as I try to preserve the identity of the team, this needs to go. Forretress, I cannot abide by. It's completely unusable in OU. So let's go with, at this point we can now get an actual Swift Swim user. And let's go with just Liquidation, Flip Turn, CC, Aqua Jet, Tera Water, and Banded. Yeah, so that looks good. And Metagross. So there are a few sets you could run here. Assault Vest is not terrible, so you could keep this. But honestly, just given how unstable this team is, I feel like I would want to be going for the win with almost any Pokemon I can, so I'm actually going to switch this out for an agility set. So with this set, you can threaten a decent amount of things. You know, maybe if you catch a Gliscor off guard with a Tera Blast Ice, you could do something with agility, make it happen. And if you don't, at least you can. I know you got the Meteor Mash, chance of attack boost, and you can, at the very least, you can knock off an item, and probably Tera Flying just so you can maybe cheese your way past a Great Tusk. That would be pretty cool. We don't need all this speed, just got to outspeed Dragapult at +2, and we can put the rest into HP. Alright, well, all of these teams will be linked in the description, but I highly recommend not using this one. Let's quickly just do the Tera types here. We can give this grass just so it can resist, grass types that hit it, and we'll go ground on this guy just to be immune to electric and resist Stealth Rock. Yeah, please don't use this, guys. Next up, we have a Hisuian Electrode balance here by Julian. So let's take a look. Initially, we kind of have this grass spam core of a pretty standard choice banded Rillaboom and a choice specs Hisuian Electrode. So the idea here, as was described by the creator of this team, is to kind of have these grassy terrain boosted modest choice specs Chloroblast, and you can wish this up with Alomomola so it can keep using Chloroblast, which removes 50% of your health. So definitely a cool concept here. We've got a pretty solid specially defensive support Heatran, just the classic wish pass Alomomola here, looking pretty nice. A standard kind of support Great Tusk, and a Iron Defense Mandibuzz, especially defensive, which is pretty odd to see here, but yeah, overall, honestly, this team has a lot going for it. I mean, I think this is unviable. I don't think Hisuian Electrode has a place in OU, but overall, I'll give this team a 6 out of 10. It's actually better than it appears, and it does have a lot of good stuff going on, but it can definitely be better. So let's take a look. So first of all, I disagree with Alomomola's presence here. I don't really think it's necessary. The idea behind the Chloroblast is it's a bit of a fantasy. I think it's a good theory, but in reality, it's a 150 base power grass move when you have a 130 base power grass move, which is very close, and it doesn't lose 50% of your health. And the other thing is, Alomomola doesn't really give you a lot here. You're not really struggling particularly hard against fire types. You've got a Flash Fire Heatran, you've got your Great Tusk. You don't really need the water resist. You started off the team with this double grass core. So I think we can do a little bit better, because I'm not seeing anything on this team that can really support Hisuian Electrode all that well. Like if I see a Galarian Slowking comes in, you need something that can really, really put a ton of pressure on that. And at the moment, I mean, you've got Rillaboom, but that's kind of easy to switch into, and overall the rest of your team seems just like it's not going to be enough to help break for Hisuian Electrode. Now, what would be enough would be a Hazard Core. So something that I'm thinking is we can put in a Meowscarada here. And this could be a more offensive pivot. It would also take advantage of grassy terrain, which would be really nice too. But I'm thinking you're going to be Volt Switching on some really, really bulky special walls. Meowscarada can come in and really mess them up and really actually start putting on pressure. And it will need hazard support, so probably we're going to want to, now we can take away Mandibuzz here for a Gliscor. So it still gives you that ground immunity, and it's different in a lot of ways than Mandibuzz, but having access to spikes is going to make this great. Now, you don't have a real ghost resist here. I mean, you have a Meowscarada, but I think between Meowscarada and especially defensive Heatran, you should be decent enough against Dragapult. Now, kind of a personal preference thing here, but I would probably say we can go Stealth Rock on Heatran and just remove Stealth Rock on Tusk and go for knockoff. Reason for that is I just like to, if I can, keep my Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin users separate so we're not too compressed. Gliscor here, no reason to overthink it. I think I'd just go with the Tera Water set. You're going to protect Toxic, Earthquake, and Spikes. Also really helpful in the current metagame against Roaring Moon, which looked pretty scary for your team before. Gliscor can help out with that. Maybe spread some Toxic, and overall, just these spikes are going to be really, really important for Hisuian Electrode. So let's go with that. And yeah, Great Tusk was good. On this, nothing tricky, just the standard set, you know, knockoff U-turn, triple axle, and flower trick. And for the Tera type, I'm thinking fire, just because of all the, you know, Heatran, Moltres, Volcarona, a lot of users of Flame Body in the tier right now, so it's good to have that option available. Flash Fire here works. I would go enough speed to outpace King Gambit, so let's hit 219. 248 just for hazard damage. We can put the rest in special defense. So you could run Will-O-Wisp on this if you're really worried about the King Gambit matchup. It could get a little bit scary. I'm kind of scared of Volcarona, so I want to go Tera Fire on this Tusk. And one other thing I noticed with this team is that we have a big problem currently against Iron Defense Zamazenta. So to kind of counteract that, we can go Tera Blast and Tera Fairy. So this can also one-shot Darkrai leads. And you could go Timid on this. I understand the Modest. I feel like definitely I can see the Modest here just with how weak Hisuian Electrode is. It feels like it needs everything, but it's worth looking into. You could try Timid, try Modest out. Having the guaranteed outspeed against Dragapult and Zamazenta is very nice. So the idea behind this new core is that this knockoff and this hazard stack here with the spikes and Stealth Rock is going to put an immense amount of pressure on Galarian Slowking. So before you volt switched on something like a Galarian Slowking or some other, you know, really bulky special wall like a specially defensive Heatran, you bring in your Great Tusk, you maybe have Rocks up, your opponent switches into whatever their Corviknight. You didn't get a lot done, you didn't make a lot of progress. Now with these hazards you have up, if your opponent wants to switch into something on this volt switch and it's not a ground type, like if they get that prediction wrong, they're now actually in trouble because they're going to have to contend with this absolutely terrifying Masquerada. Lastly, we have a Tera Fairy Roaring Moon team by Winterbub. So Winterbub is also another Pokemon YouTuber, really underrated. I'll be linking his channel in the description. I highly recommend you guys check it out. Let's take a look at this team. So first thing I noticed is the nicknames. Sub to Pink Across, like the video. Please do that, guys. It really helps me out a lot. But now let's take a look at this team. So we have the classic Fairy Dark coverage here on this Roaring Moon. EVs are a little bit weird, but this is just a kind of a proto-attack bulky Roost variant. We have a pretty standard choice banded Rillaboom, dual screens Dragapult, eject button Toxapex, a Spadef Foul Play Defog Mandibuzz, and the new Tera Stellar Enamorus with the Choice Scarf. So let's do what we can to fix this. As for what score I would give this team, I'm thinking like a probably about a 5 out of 10. It's got a lot of pretty noticeable flaws, and maybe a 4, maybe I'll give it I think a 4.5. What I'm really not impressed with here is the mixing playstyles. So this is a hyper offense Pokemon. This is a hit or miss Roaring Moon. It comes in once and it sweeps or it doesn't. And that is not good alongside this Toxapex and Mandibuzz. So like if you're trying to make a balanced team, your entire team gets volt switched on, which is a big problem. Now for hyper offense, that's not a problem, but you've kind of got this team that's like hyper offense, and then you've got a Toxapex and a Mandibuzz in there. So you sort of have to pick a play style. And in this case, you know, I'm assuming the Roaring Moon is kind of the star of the show here. So I'm going to take these two out because they do not fit on a hyper offense team at all. So now what we have to ask ourselves is, you know, what is going to support this Roaring Moon best? And what I ask myself is, what's going to stop this Roaring Moon from winning? And I would think the main two things that come to mind are going to be Iron Defense Corviknight and Iron Defense Skarmory. And since we've got a Rillaboom kind of already on here, I'm actually really liking the idea of Hawlucha. So we can go Grassy Seed, and I got a set that is specially made to take out those Corviknight and Skarmory. So we go Unburden, of course, SD Acrobatics, but instead of running Close Combat, I actually want to run Fire Punch and Encore here. So, and with Tera Fire as well. So not only does this give us a way to hit Goldengo, it hits Corviknight and Skarmory hard, and even if they Tera, we have that Encore option. So this can actually, because we have Encore, this can really force chip on even some really bulky Pokemon like Dondozo, but this Hawlucha, I think, will guaranteed get some damage off on those physical walls that would normally be keeping Roaring Moon down. So hopefully between the two of them, they can, you know, really put something together. I'm thinking for this, we only really need to hit, I think, 280 287, 288 I believe is enough that we can outspeed Iron Boulder after its proto boost, so we need that, and other than that we're all set. And now for this last slot, one thing I'm noticing is this team is very physically based. So we have 3 kind of powerful Pokemon. We've got a Rillaboom, Roaring Moon, Hawlucha. They're all on the physical side, and we don't really have anything that's great against Iron Defense Pokemon like ID, Zama, and Corv. Now we have Hawlucha, but we can't rely on, you know, that Grassy Seed being intact and it being healthy and able to Encore forever. And Scarf and Amorous is pretty weak, so it's not going to be really doing very much to these Pokemon. So we want something more on the special side in this last slot, and I think the perfect fit here, especially given our Fairy Resist situation, is going to be a Heavy Duty Boots Volcarona. Other good thing is we can get a nice little Giga Drain boost, which I think could be really cool in the tier right now, just against some of the kind of bulkier waters. And I'm thinking the set I want to run on this is Quiver Dance, Fiery Dance, Tera Blast, probably go Tera Blast Ground. You could run Bug Buzz instead, since we've got 2 kind of Tera Blast users that both really like Tera. Yeah, so let's do it. Let's go Bug Buzz and Giga Drain. That lets us run a defensive Tera type. I'm thinking I'd be inclined to go probably Fairy on this. And yeah, we can go with Modest. I'm greedy like that. And this gives us something that actually can resist Fairy types and put immediate pressure on some of those more physical walls that don't want to deal with this Volcarona. Now, one other thing to note, I don't want to change the team too much and make it, as I said, I don't want to make it unrecognizable. I would honestly replace an Amorous for an Iron Valiant here. I don't think this Amorous fits particularly well. If you're going to run it on Hyper Offense, you usually want to run Healing Wish. And the problem is with this, you've got, you know, between Grassy Seed and Booster Energy, you don't have a lot of Pokemon that really appreciate a revival all that much. So I think Iron Valiant would fit better here. So at the risk of, you know, adjusting this team and really just overdoing it, I would like to add kind of one more, just sort of a standard set here, but this Encore set. And the reason I really like this here, I think we'll go with, actually, part of me wants to almost go like Ground or something for, no, let's just go with Steel, kind of a standard Tera type here. So this will kind of do the similar thing to Hawlucha, and between these two, I'm hoping, you know, with Knockoff, with Close Combat, we can really get to the point where those physical walls are completely destroyed for Roaring Moon. Although, now that I'm rethinking, just because I don't want the Knockoff to overlap with the Roaring Moon, we may be able to go for something a little bit more creative here on Iron Valiant, and maybe go for the Spirit Break. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. In the description will be all the fixed and original teams if you want to take a look, and there will also be a link to sign up for one-on-one tutoring with me if you're interested. I'll see you guys next time.